It's just simple, a simple invite.
Yes, they just
Because
invite.
Richie really wanted to be here, and other people keep saying they want to come, but life gets in the way, and they you can't predict. Like Richie was upset because somebody throws up on his carpet. Those are just things that just happen. But what if we have if we can start inviting enough people, then maybe we can start getting some really interesting conversations and spiritual awakenings. I think it would be great, but since it's so informal, is that smoke gonna bother him?
No, we got all the fans going anyway, so.
Yeah, well, that's all right. I was thinking something I just wanted to touch upon was our recent trips. Just for anybody who may see this, we just got back from India and the Middle East and Qatar. And one thing that stuck out in my mind spiritually, yeah, you can let him run around. It's okay. You ain't gonna bother anybody. You just add to the flavor of the video.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to take a nap, but apparently not.
You just add to it. I was thinking about the enforcement of their perceived morality, like for instance, they're so opposed to drinking alcohol. So, I can understand that somebody may be opposed to any mind-altering substance, whether it's caffeine or coffee or various drugs or whatever. But is stifling, imposing your own morality onto the masses through religion or secular laws or anything else, that stifles the whole notion of free will.
It does stifle the notion of free will. But again, it goes back to their morality. Like, who even imposes what morality is?
Right. Are you sitting in a big chair? Yeah. Not only what is morality, it's kind of like what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. We keep touching on it's the whole notion of what is right and wrong.
Yeah.
What's good or bad. But if you're stifling people's free will, whether it's here in the United States with Christianity, or being a Muslim, or even in India with Hindus, in parts of India you have limitations on all sorts of things, including alcohol. But we're not alcoholics, but we like to enjoy wine.
Yeah.
So
And it doesn't alter our perception because we don't drink like I would think the vast majority of people don't drink to get drunk.
no, after a long day, or if you're traveling and sightseeing, you want to take the edge off of just a hair by having an enjoyable glass of wine. You're not harming anyone.
Or if you're traveling, you just want to, it goes to adding to the local customs and flavors, what their vineyards are, or their drinks of choice or customs are.
Right, or if you just want something like a comfort food, comfort, like having a glass of wine is like eating our comfort food.
Yeah.
So you stifle our free will. And my dilemma with that is because I enjoyed being around the Muslims, I enjoyed being around the Hindus. But when does stifling someone's free will become a problem? I think it becomes a problem immediately.
Yeah. Right out of the gate.
Like right out of the gate. And there are, to me, I was thinking about this morning. If there, and I wrote down this thought: if there's no enforcement, I think in their minds, people that do all over the world that stifle people's free will, they're doing that to, I think, because they fear the harm of allowing people to have free will.
Well, of course they do. I mean, like any of the books that you read of the Christian books or Muslim books or Hindu, the gods gave them free will. Well, so you're saying the laws of man are higher than the laws of all the gods? They all gave mankind free will.
You have the innate right to choose whatever dogma you believe, right and wrong, and so now you're saying man is more powerful than God, because if God wanted to have us in the Middle East not to have wine, then God would have made no grapes and created formation. It seems just nonsensical to me, but I think humans, and I believe humans, you can see it everywhere, create order out of chaos. So if you allow everyone to have free will, some type of order is going to be established that could still allow people to have free will, like India's traffic. You know?
A whole thing on just India's traffic.
So you have this such chaotic traffic,
But almost no wrecks.
and everyone, and unlike in the United States where you honk a horn, everyone gets offended or somebody thinks you're doing something wrong. Well, there it is just the norm to say, hey, that's
I'm behind you.
I'm behind you. Hey, I'm passing you.
Yeah.
Hey, be careful. You know that it's and they created their own system of order, even though it seems chaotic to the untrained eye.
Yeah.
I don't want to drive in India.
I don't think I want to drive there either.
But they created their own thing. I think that's the same way with free will and everything. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
But then somebody might argue the point that, well, weren't those lawmakers somebody creating that order out of free will? Or-
Yeah, it's problematic. It's basically the dilemma of what is good and bad. You know, is stifling free will good or bad? It falls under that same big grand question, and I'm of the opinion that I don't believe God wants man to stifle anyone's free will.
No.
I think men, like if let's say you have an, you know where you live, you have rent houses on y'all's property. So if you have a tenant that is exercising his free will of drinking too much, and he starts to cause problems, well, y'all are going to just fix it. You're going to create that order. You don't care if he drinks or not, as long as he's not infringing upon your rights. So there can be laws established to create order by man. Do whatever you want to do, as long as it doesn't infringe upon somebody else's rights.
When your free will crosses into somebody else's free will.
Right.
It's basically where the lines should be.
Yes.
Your free will should extend all the way until you infringe on somebody else's free will. And really not until that point.
Yeah.
Because why should it?
As long as you are not bothering anybody else, and then you get into the notion of what really is bothering people, because everybody is everything bothers everybody now.
Well, in this country.
But yeah.
We found that is not so much the case when you're traveling.
No, it's not.
Like, none of the Muslim people had any problem with us. They were all extremely friendly, very nice, and they really did not care if we were
Didn't care
Christian, Muslim, Hindu, it doesn't matter.
I really thought that when we went to the Middle East, almost immediately we bought the Arab clothing. So whenever we're buying the clothing, I did have a thought that, you know, I wonder if these Muslims may be offended like we are mocking them by wearing their clothes. I didn't care so much to mention it or to be really concerned about it, because I knew I wasn't wearing it to mock their clothes. I wanted to wear it because I just thought it was cool.
Yeah.
It was something different, and I thought there had to be a reason for them wearing it. I mean, you don't wear, you have a community, they wear certain things because they learned over time that that's practical.
It's applicable for their society, yes.
Right. So if you're in Rome, do as the Romans. You know, you're in the Middle East, do as the Middle Easterns. So, and that was true because we go out. Everywhere we go, people are looking at us, are helping us with our deals, and that happened everywhere we were. From the hotel lobbies to sitting out drinking the fruit
juice,
drinks,
yeah.
and
Because several times there is some kind of order or what it means to fix your headband in certain ways, and people were all too happy to come up and help you fix it, or it was really pretty impressive.
yeah, it just seems like that in what we are exploring here in we have some members of our congregation, and we talk to them regularly, but they can't, since we're brand new, nobody's gotten to the habit of,
Just showing up
showing up every Sunday, so it's something that we're gonna have to work on, but we're not going to have, because my beliefs, and I know your beliefs, I don't want to stifle anyone's free will from doing anything.
Yeah, no.
That as long as it does not infringe upon somebody else, no one should care.
No, they shouldn't even have the right to care.
No,
No.
I mean, I think there does become a point, because this is the dilemma in that if you're not infringing upon my rights and you do something harmful to your body, and that doesn't necessarily have to be alcohol or drugs. I mean, you could just be eating 1,000 Doritos every night, or Oreos, or just what, you're or like Pops, eating a gallon of ice cream every day. That's his business. It's his life, but we still have a concern about the people we care about. We want them to be healthy, because I believe that, and it seems quite clear that our bodies are our temples. Like we don't need. I like to see the grand architecture of all the temples that we've been in the past 2 weeks, and when we've traveled to Rome, and when I was in Guatemala, and all the travels around the world, we build these grandiose monuments to whatever God, to whatever religion. Those are all interesting to look at and a part of their history, but they're just stone. They're just something else. I mean, we are the housing for our mind, our spirit,
Our
consciousness,
yes.
Everything that we are.
What makes us sentient?
Yes.
I mean, this is the house that it's in.
Yes. So if we love and care about someone and it's not infringing upon our rights, like if all of a sudden you started to turn into a 400-pound blob, I would have to say something to you.
Yeah.
But is it my right to say something?
I think it comes under this. If it's somebody that you know and care about, you can offer a suggestion.
Yeah.
It's just like if someone asked you where to eat, or they're speaking of something, where should we eat, and you pipe into the conversation. You're not infringing upon their rights. You're just offering a good, valid suggestion. Same basic thing.
Yeah, I think I would have to, as you being my brother and me loving you, that I would have to say, hey man, I want you. I'm gonna be selfish in saying that, hey, I want you around for a while. Why don't you do your best to stay in shape?
Yeah.
But there comes a point in that where I just have to stop. I have to let you be your own man.
Yeah, because you can say, hey, do this, but you're not forcing it on me.
Right.
So our free wills aren't butting. I mean, they might like a little pass, like, hey,
Right.
do this, but you're not going to forcibly stop somebody from doing it.
No, I'm not going to go to your house and clear out your pantry. I'm not going to go to Pops's freezer and take all his ice cream away.
No.
You know, I'm just not going to do it. But I will make the suggestion in whatever way I can. I think that's really all we can do as being not only a congregation, but being in relationships with, you know, everybody in our lives. And I think that is, and that is one of the mottos and one of the tenets of why we gather on Sundays, to try to be the best influence to each other and everyone around us, to do our best to be a good example. Right? That don't follow the herd. Make your mind curious. Try to discover what it is to be conscious, to enjoy this life. Don't just be careful. Don't touch the camera. Good call, dude. Good call.
Adds a little flavor with a 2-year-old running around.
Yeah, it's good. Because part of what we do here is promote family, and 2-year-olds running around is part of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is part of it.
I mean, it is life running around.
Heck yeah, it is. And we love it. Yeah, I just think the whole notion, that's what I wrote this morning, it is the notion of self-repression, or, you know, a physical desire. This is something that interests me because it goes on the same subject of free will colliding with somebody else's free will, or our own free will. Is the notion of self-repression of physical desires, or any desire. When does it cross or become, quote, sin against our own individual temples, and when does it become a sin against others? See, I struggle with that on a lot of levels, because some things I say can be harmful to somebody else. Is that a sin? Is it like being in a relationship with another woman, or a woman with a man, and you have an extramarital affair is a perfect example. Some religions frown on it, some religions don't. When does the suppression of yourself and your own desires become a problem against your own soul when it comes to someone else? That is a problematic thing.
It is a problematic thing.
On a lot of different levels, from like, you know, Monica would, if I wanted to go to the ranch to see y'all, or go to Mom's house, or just do simple things that were important to me on occasion, she refused to do. There's so many little nuanced things like that are damaging to another person, but it doesn't necessarily stop my own free will, because I can still go do it.
Mm-hmm.
But because she was either against it or for it or whatever, it caused harm to the other. And that is a interesting thought that I've never fully seen discussed in any church that I've ever been to. Outside of just saying, you know, adultery's bad, or but I'm talking about just an overall aspect of being in a relationship. Whenever you intentionally don't inconvenience yourself for the benefit of someone you love, is that good or bad? It depends on the situation, of course, but
definitely on the situation, the people involved too.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think, in what I've come to believe just spiritually. I do think there's obviously something to karma. If you do something intentionally that you know is going to hurt somebody else, it's not going to terribly inconvenience you by doing it or not doing it to save that person's feelings. You probably should just do it or not do it.
Yeah.
Depending on what it is. I just it's that cross of free will. Like it hurt my feelings. Monica didn't want to go do stuff a lot of times. Like Roman when he was here for a couple of months. She didn't want to go to dinner a couple of times and go do that. I was like, these friends are from Italy and they're only here for, Roman was here just for a month, but Klaus was here for 3. I was like, he's only here for a couple of weeks. Let's go spend time with him.
And they live on the other side of the world.
Yeah, and when we go to Italy, they go out of their way to be with us every day and take us everywhere. So we should
reciprocate that.
Reciprocate, yeah, just out of common courtesy. And that's what the whole purpose of being together on Sunday is just to discover what's right and wrong, what ultimately is best for the soul. Because I think if you don't do those things, you're causing damage to the world, even in such a small degree that I think it still matters.
I think I would agree with you. I mean, small things add up over time, like we talked about human intent on water.
Yeah.
Or the mass prayer sessions that have lowered crime. I mean, the small things do add up. Everything
The
adds biggest up. Fire starts with a spark.
Yeah. I mean, everything adds up. It's just like one of the quotes from Epictetus today is that if you want to be a writer, then write.
Yeah.
Well, it takes time to be a good writer. It takes time to be able to really start logically thinking and formulating your thoughts. You just don't instantly become something.
No, you don't. It's not become anything.
Whether it's a trader, whether it's a speaker, anything, it just takes time. Just like these videos, over time they're going to get better and better. We're going to have different people involved, and the conversation's going to expand. And our whole notion of spirituality, and the whole real tenets of what we believe are going to become a lot more clear just from our conversations.
So we have to have these to
build.
Better.
Yeah, we have to build ourselves, to build our congregation, to build our whole lives. Really, stems around us learning who and what we are. That's why we get together.
Most people go their whole lives without knowing who they are.
Yeah, and that's why I've been so disturbed the entirety of my life with going to church. They tell you who you are.
Oh yeah, definitely, and who you should be.
Right, and exactly what you believe. I think as a human with a full conscience, you could actually believe in a lot of different things that wouldn't necessarily conflict with what we're learning about ourselves, what we believe spiritually. You just run around, buddy. Just don't hit the camera. You just pick up a book and start reading.
About time.
That's right. You're a handsome young man. You're our first 2-year-old congregant.
Oh, you think that's funny, do you?
Yeah, you think it's funny, huh? Yeah, the notion of free will. I believe that we should always, in our church, say that. I think that's a fundamental belief that you should do what you want to do as long as it does not infringe upon the rights of another. You should have the freedom to think for yourself. We're not here to enforce how you believe.
No,
we're here to help you and me and everyone around us in our circle of friends and people that become a part of our congregation to explore themselves.
Okay.
Oh, well, you gotta go poo.
Come on.
Well, that's just part of it. Get it out, buddy, get it out. Well, we'll just put it in, we'll just make that a short one for today.